Welcome to Resource Thursday with Proofpoint. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my guests. We have my co-host, none other than Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how are you today?
Doing good, Paco. Can't complain. Can't complain.
And I have a returning guest, but with a new flavor to him. It's Jason Eberhardt, Global VP of Cloud MSP at Proofpoint. Jason, how are you today?
So fantastic. Thank you guys for having us on today.
And I appreciate you coming out. It's always a good time talking to you, whether it's at an event or here. So I'm really excited for this conversation on a vendor I think we all know, but we want to learn a little bit more about, and that's Proofpoint. But before we jump into that, I'd like to talk about my favorite thing, and that is TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged is September 16th to the 18th at the Hilton Rosemont Chicago O'Hare. There you will learn from other like-minded business owners in panels and breakout sessions, key takeaways from partners and vendors in the space, and experience the one-to-one hallway conversations, the little lobby areas where we've been told where the magic happens. Tickets are $299, but take advantage of the early bird pricing that is ending at the time of this recording, April 4th, which is this coming Monday. April 4th, 9 a.m., shutting down the early bird pricing. So take advantage of those ticket prices. Head over to techconunplugged.com and purchase yours. And we look forward to seeing you in September. All right.
I already got mine, so I'll see you guys there.
There you go. So, Jason, appreciate you coming back again. Really wanted to just really dive more into kind of what Proofpoint is offering, what it's doing for the channel and IT service providers. But before we kind of dive into all that, I know you've been on the show before, but I'd like to give, for those that may have missed that episode, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself and kind of your origin story on how you found yourself over to Proofpoint.
Origin story. I love that. I love the way you put that. Yeah, so I'll make it very quick as I can. So I'll go back to the beginning. I really started my career when I was 15 years old, working at the Boys and Girls Club, working in youth development, working with kids, helping kids. And I really started to think about what gives me joy in my life, what really gets me up in the morning, what gets me excited, and it's helping people. And then I was like, okay, helping people, but I don't get to make money doing that. So what's the really cool thing that I can do to help people? Technology. So I started at a company called Novacoast. My soon-to-be father-in-law was the VP of sales, and one of my closest friends and mentor, Adam Gray, were both at Novacoast. He was the CTO and co-founder of Novacoast. And so I went to them. I said, guys, I really like helping people, and I really want to see what I can do in technology. And they Dave Salgado, that was my soon-to-be father-in-law, handed me a book. And you guys better smile, because if you didn't read this book, you better have read it, right? In technology, PC for Dummies. Did you guys read that book at all? Come on, guys. Oh, yeah. You got to start somewhere, right? So he gave me that book. And at first I was like, dummies, because I had never heard of the whole, series. But man, that gave me such a great foundation, right? So then I got all in. I became an MCSD, a CCNA, a CNE. I mean, you list the certs, I started getting them. I started going on consulting trips around Y2K. I know that's going to date me a little bit, and you can't see the gray, but yes, I started going out in the world, right? So Y2K. But then I started meeting some amazing people in the industry. John, Semitic, an owner of Conventus, Alex. I mean, there's a lot of different people that have helped me through my journey. But really, at the end of the day, and you guys are going to know this name, but I had not met him. His name is Joe Sikora. He is now the global SVP of channel for Proofpoint. So one of my friends, very close friend, Marianne Louvet, I went to her. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I was at Semantic at the time. I had built the cloud program. I had built it up. It was fantastic. And he was at this place called Bitdefender. And that's when we first met, right? Came on your show. And we built that team up. And then we went, and then he went. I was looking at the next step. And this is the last part. This is my long answer to your question, right? So when I started looking at my next step from Bitdefender, because I grew an amazing team there. I love them. They're my family. I still talk to them on a daily basis. They're just amazing. Anything they need from me, they can always call me. But I was starting to think, okay, they don't really need me anymore. And that's a sad thing, right? I have an 18 and a 16-year-old, and they don't need me much anymore either, right? So I'm trying to figure that all out, right? You get it, right? So I started looking around, and I said, okay, what are my check boxes? An amazing person I trust 1,000,000%, Joe Sikora. Okay, check. The next thing is the technology. And I opened it up, and we all know what Proofpoint is, right? We all heard the brand, we know the email, we get that, right? So I knew that going in. What really spoke to me, guys, is when I looked at their website and I started doing research, and their tagline, people-centered security, people-centric security. It's really focused on the person, not the data. And what we seem to figure out down the road and not realize is the bad actors are already focusing on the people, right? They want to focus on the people that have the data they want, not the get to the data. And it's really weird in technology. We don't focus on that. All the other ones, firewalls, edge security, it's all about technology, focused on technology, protecting technology. So we really wanted to focus on the people. And that's what really spoke to me, guys. And then I started meeting some people here. Man, this is one of the most amazing places I've worked for in my entire career. So that was my long, short story for you guys.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. And I think that's cool that really diving into, because I'm a true believer on partnering with vendors that are very people focused, and not only just for the end user, but also with the IT service provider, because I feel that it's a two-way street, right? And I think that a lot of this is something I harp about all the time, is that, as I love our IT service providers and our audience, sometimes we are cheap as all heck. And I think it's one of those where they're confusing cheap with frugal, not putting investments, and they're only viewing a vendor as a price tag on a service or a technology, and not doing business with
check a box. Yep.
And really
good enough security, right?
Right. And really just not thinking, and going on to the next and going on to the next, and not establishing a relationship with resources that are offered, the people you're working with. I mean, I have actually switched vendors after I have solidified a tool set, and Rick knows this, a tool set or whatever. And it's because I wanted to do business with the people because of what they're doing with that company, how they're offering it to their end users, their IT service providers, and their customers. So I've done that switch. So that's really cool to hear Proofpoint really focusing on that. But for those that don't know what about Proofpoint, or what Proofpoint does, what is Proofpoint?
Proofpoint is people-centric security, like we talked about. But what we look at when I came here and I looked at what we're really focused on, right? What we like to say is data doesn't just grow legs and walk out the door. Somebody has to be involved in that, right? 99% of the attacks that we see have to have people intervention. Now think about that for a second. If there wasn't someone clicking on an attachment or looking at the wrong URL or going to different places, a lot of these things wouldn't happen. And we see this constantly. And what we like to do is we like to approach this with security awareness training. This is another really strong offering that we do at Proofpoint. And I like to use an analogy as a house, right? When you look at a house, how many access points are there in a house? How many points of entry do you need to get into a house, guys? A window, door, how many do you need?
A window, a door.
One, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you could have the fence, the security system, you could have the doors locked, everything. But if you didn't train the person to turn the security system alarm on, or teach them how to lock the door, it doesn't matter how great security is. You got to make sure it's good, right? So we do a lot of things, and we look at three ways of people getting attacked, right? The people that get attacked, it's either compromised, it's either being negligent, or it's malicious, right? And those are the three things we like to look at. So we offer you our defense, attachment defense, a very cool one. I didn't have a clue what social media protection was when I got here. Obviously, you guys can figure out what it was, right? It protects it kind of like parental controls on social media. So, we give 3 away for free in our advanced packages. And so what you could do is business for, Twitter, business for Facebook, Instagram, all of those things, and literally goes through and protects people from putting bad information on there or incorrect information. And we all know how that works, right? We have multi-tenancy, monthly billing. There's no quotes. There's no builds. There's none of those things that we have to do. We integrate with some of the largest RMMs on the planet. We're starting to make that happen. And I got another quick little story for you. It was funny. After I signed with Proofpoint, I was talking to a family member of mine. So I won't say the name of the company, but there was a family member. He's a CEO of 5 companies. Yes, I'm not the most successful person in my family, just calling that out, right? So I went to him and I was like, hey, I'm going to go work at this place. And I started telling him about the stuff. He goes, oh man, I could have used that. And he told me this very interesting story. He was walking through his office one day and the CFO yelled out to him from their office, and they said, "Hey, I'm about to send that $100,000. No worries, I got it taken care of." And he stopped and he turned and he goes, "What $100,000?" And the person said, "Oh, the email you sent me earlier." He goes, "Can I see that?" It was a very, very, very good email. That was not him, right? So they stopped that, luckily. But how many of those type of things happen every day, right? All the time. So yeah, in general, that's what we do, Paco.
Yep. No, and it's funny because I had a similar story where we had a client that we just took over. They were, I think, day 2. We were implementing all the spam filtering stuff, and it's amazing on how interesting and how good they're getting, right? And really trying to just get through, right? Plain text, no attachments, no links, nothing to try and figure out. And it's just weird, right? All together. And so we had that same thing where, like, the same scenario, owner sent it to the office manager, "Hey, wire this amount of money," etc. And so they're in the process of going through a merger. So the other owner was there. And so that caused a huge uproar. We've been compromised. We've whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I looked, I said, "No, it's a phishing email. Where's, did your previous IT company before we took you over gave you security awareness training? Have they trained you?" So like, what's that? So it's like, it's very interesting on, like you say, it's the human element always gets a lot of these companies and businesses in trouble, right? And you can't just rely on spam filtering anymore. You can't rely on just the technology and the education is so huge. And then, there are those that feel that, well, why am I going to waste my time on education? They're not going to listen to me anyway. I mean, I think there's a lot of stats behind that I've read that really make a difference on how to limit that, those type of compromises, or just in general, just keeping front of mind if it's a consistent basis. As we kind of go into, because obviously I think a lot of us know Proofpoint from many years ago, right? And it was very just spam filtering. And obviously you just spoke about there's much more than under the hood, which is Proofpoint. Now it's security awareness training, which I didn't know about.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
What are some other ways that Proofpoint is helping improve services for MSPs, whether that's the technology wise or just the offerings that they've kind of ramped up in recent years?
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk on, that's a great question, by the way, Paco, as always, right? So when we look at it, there's a lot of things we want to do, right? We're 100% channel focused. That's number one, right? And that speaks to me and a lot of the partners and people I work with in the industry. A lot of companies want to say they're partner focused. We are. That's why they brought Joe in. That's why they brought people like myself in to work for Joe to really build that up. But specifically for the MSPs, I love working in the MSP community. I know you guys do as well. And what I like to say is thank you to the MSPs, right? Because they have taken on a charge to really be the front line of the entire security industry, right? The security landscape. They're out there making the difference. A lot of people don't realize, and I did, started early in my career, I didn't think so either. It's like, oh, they only attack the big guys, right? They only go after the Fortune 50 or 500 or whatever. No, most of the time they're focusing on the dentist down the street that has a server in his closet that he hasn't looked at, updated, or anything. They're putting bots on there to attack other people. If you protect yourself, you're protecting your neighbor. And so I just love that. So if you take care of yourself, it's like that whole adage when you're on a plane, right? Put your mask on, then put the mask on to the person to the next to you, right? And that's the MSPs, right? Sometimes they even put the mask on to the next one before they they're just amazing. So we have MRR billing, right? We have, like we kind of talked about, there's no quotes, there's none of that kind of stuff. We're in marketplaces. You can go to the marketplaces. We're integrating with the RMMs. We kind of talked about that a little bit before. So anywhere you want to purchase it, we should be there for you. And if not, call me after this and I'll make sure that we are. That's one of the other things that I like to say. But really, when it comes down to the channel, Paco, is really what I wanted to focus on is, we've brought in a lot of great things. We brought in a lot of amazing things to our product specialists. No problem at all. So a lot of them are focused on enabling partners for consulting, managed services. We will continue to add to this partner program, but I did want to announce, I know you announced something. Well, I'm going to announce something today as well. We have our Global Partner Summit, the first one since I've been here, and it's April 27th and 28th. So please go sign up for that. Nice. And we're going to talk about some other added when we get to that summit.
Yep, send that link to us, and we'll make sure we have
You
it
got
in the show notes as well, and on this video.
You got it.
But kind of going into what you just mentioned, and really just how helping one another, and really going to that. Rick, when it comes to something of this importance, like how have you been educating your clients on trying to understand on just what they need to do?
Absolutely.
Well, the funny thing is, it went from, in my business, this went from spam filtering, phishing, went from and security awareness training, went from an add-on to a must-have. And that has occurred over the last year. I've made that shift. And it's because you cannot say you're fully securing your client if you're not protecting the email and if you're not teaching them. Again, we do get the pushback of they're never going to pay attention, or they're not going to do it anyway. But hey, you never know. Sometimes just one little thing clicks in their head, and when the time comes, it reminds them, hey, I shouldn't do that. So I try to emphasize it with, I'll be at locations and I'll hear clients say this or say that, and I say, hey, don't do that, for this reason, and but it has become, to make a long story short, it has become a requirement. It is part of our baseline requirements now for every client to do business with us. Spam filtering, phishing, and training is in our base product, so that we are covering everything. It's like you said, Jason. 99% of breaches or occurrences happen. They have some kind of human interaction somewhere. Yep. So we have to make sure we're covering that. So. And clients get it. They hear about it. They don't. Again, we have to fight that. It won't happen to me. That's for the big guys thing. But it happens everywhere, and I can show them now, which is great. We have some. I'm in New Jersey, so I can show them places close to us here in Newark or in Philadelphia that have been breached, that have been in the news, and they're small like you. So what makes you special?
You know what, Rick, to jump in there real quick, I just did a analysis of one of our partners, and they asked us for this data, and it just blew me away. And it showed in the 90-day time span, we delivered, so they had about 1.4 billion emails that came in 90 days. We only delivered a little over 600 million. And the reason why is spam filtering, URL, all that kind of stuff, right? So when we showed it to them, they're like, oh, you are actually protecting us. Because sometimes people forget, right? If a technology is really, really strong, they don't really know what it's doing, right? And if you have to show them what. So when I showed it to them, it really opened their eyes a lot, right? So wow, you guys really are helping us. Thank you. Like, you're welcome.
and with that, Jason, have you had any? And that's a great way of showing on how you're improving services for a managed service provider, IT service provider. To have you any additional maybe stats or stories that maybe have shown a managed service provider that obviously this is an investment for them to put onto their services that actually helps them save time or money by doing this in the long run?
Yeah, kind of what I was just talking about, right? So if you don't have the exploits, or you don't have people attacking you, or we're stopping them, that saves you money. A lot of people don't realize being reactive versus proactive costs you money, right? And at the end of the day, right? So that stat, what I was just talking about, that document, and I'd love to show it to you guys, and I'll send it over so you can see what we can do for our partners. But literally, we're making it so easy because it's monthly billing, right? So if you don't like the solution in January, you don't have to pay for it in February. It's not a yearly thing, a commitment. A lot of the tech now, we have just specifically for the MSPs, we have this. We've built a complete product called Essentials that's really focused directly on the MSPs, that has the exact same background as our enterprise solutions, but it's focused on multi-tenancy, MRR, being able to make that happen easily for you guys. But really what it comes down to is we want people to be in there. We want to help people get into the best technologies and be able to use them if they feel that it's right for them, right? So that's really what we're trying to do to save money, is trying to stop the bad guys from taking things that they really care about. That's really what it comes down to, Paco.
Very cool. Now, I know you mentioned obviously there's no commitments, which sounds great. I think that's music to everyone's ears nowadays, because I think once they hear 3-year contract, they start to run away. No vendor throwing under the bus that I will name. But as far as what
Everybody
How
knows
does
that's watching this.
yeah. How does pricing and minimums work at Proofpoint? Are there minimums? What is the pricing structure? Do you have a tiered structure for pricing? How does that kind of work with Proofpoint and someone being involved?
Okay, so everybody that's listening to this, I did not tee Paco up on that, right? That was just an awesome question from an awesome person, right? So we do not have tiered pricing today, but the very first thing I did when I got here was built it out. So we are now evangelizing that across the partners, because here's what I always have learned in my life, because I've been on the partner side, I've been on the vendor side, right? And so I don't like being told what I need, right? I like to tell people what I need. Right. So I build out the tiered structured pricing, put everybody where I want them to be, how they can do it, where their prices are now, what discounts they could get, how they could get better discounts. And I'm getting a lot of great feedback. So this could be implemented in the next, quarter or two. It takes a lot of time to do something like that. But the incentivization of a tiered pricing is a no-brainer, right? You do more, you make more, right? It's just one of those great things. And then so the tiered pricing is definitely going to be in there. I'm not going to talk about the actual pricing because we price through our partners, but we do not have minimum commitments. Some of our partners might take the monthly and make it a yearly, but we can break that down to monthly. But here's what I would like to say to any of your listeners, right? Think outside the box. If it's something that you've brought to a vendor and they didn't like, that's what I want to hear. Because what I always like to tell people is we got to where we are in our lives by thinking inside the box. To get it to that next step, you have to think outside the box. So if you want to come to me and say, hey, we could pay you up front for a year and give us more discount. If you wanted to do a couple months free, but then do that with NFRs, anything you want to do, I'm open to discussing, because really at the end of the day, I just want you protected. And if we can get you protected, then that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to constitute that, and I'll throw it over to you, Rick. Is that what Jason means is exactly what Jason means. He's done this everywhere he's been. He did it back where he was at previously, and he said the same message when he was over there. He has the ability. He's in the position to do something about it. So it's not just we have somebody here kind of just hyping up Proofpoint. This is someone that really does want to offer that change and help out as well. But go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Paco.
Sorry to cut you off.
Now, I'm just putting my MSP hat on for a second here, and I'm asking this question. When we talk about, because again, all I've known Proofpoint to be as a spam filtering company. So now I know you said enterprise versus essentials, and forgive me, I don't know the plans, but does the security awareness training is it like one package, or is it like a la carte add-on? How's that work?
It's an a la carte add-on, but here's the cool part, Rick. You can buy it without buying our email security. So if you're using something else, we'll still give you security awareness training, as well as the social media, as well as the DLP encryption stuff, as well as the archiving. So when I say I want you guys thinking outside the box, I want you thinking outside the box. If I can protect you, that's what I want to do.
See, and that's awesome, because I think for a lot of solutions, it's very hard. Like there are some that will do exactly like you mentioned. You can get, pieces to plug into your puzzle, but there are some that you kind of have to do an all in with a base level and build on top of it, because there's no way to really break out that technology. So that's really great to hear. And
or
know
you're
about
like
as well.
caught in a contract, right, with a technology or an email security solution that you can't get out of, but you need that advanced security. Yeah, we just want to help. That's what it comes down to.
No, that's awesome. And I think kind of just rounding out here the show, I know you talked a little bit about the partner program. Why don't we go into how kind of that is at with Proofpoint? How have you seen a lot of the feedback you've gotten from the partner program? Why should a MSP or IT service provider join Proofpoint's partner program?
Above beyond the technology, the top right in Gartner, all the things that we've done, protecting 99.999, if I could keep going nines, but we only have a few more minutes, percentage of efficacy. But when it comes to the partner program, we really do care about our partners, right? That our success is their success. And I've said that, Paco, to you many times. I've said it to a lot of people, and I truly mean that, right? If I'm being successful, but my partners are not, then I've failed, right? We have to work on this together. But again, when you work for a company that's 100% channel focused, that's where you really know that it's true. It's true, and what they're saying is real. And, we talked about some of the specializations we're bringing in. We're building the partner program. You guys got to remember, we've had a channel partner program here, but we really haven't had that focus around the global understanding like Joe Sikora knows, right? And he understands how to bring all this together. Hence why I'm here. Thank goodness for him, right? Because I got to work with these amazing people and MSPs and help with the security. But what we want to do is we're about to embark on building an MSP partner program. We kind of talked about this a little bit before. The person is about to start in a month. So I won't say who that is, but I'm ecstatic on who's coming in, right? You guys know the person. And so I can tell you offline, but I don't want to talk it live, right? So they're going to come in and they're going to build our partner program and understands the MSP. Because a lot of partner people that work on partner programs really focus on enterprise, and that's totally okay, right? That's where we've been in our industry. But this person has worked on both sides, understands the MSP partner program. And what I will tell of any of our partners that are out there today, and hopefully a lot of you guys are partners, we are bringing you something very exciting, right? And what I'm going to do, and we kind of talked about this, I'm going to ask you if you think it's exciting. If you don't, then we need to go back to the drawing board. So like I said, and I'm going to say over and over and over again, right? We're going to think outside the box to do the best solutions we can for our partners. And at the end of the day, we're going to work together to be successful.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, all really great stuff. I think there's such value in a partner program because it gives you, again, back to that two-way street of conversation and feedback, right? I think it's the ability of being open to hear what your main audience is trying to do, what they want to achieve. And then in return, it allows us to contribute back, right? Whether that is, if it's not monetary, it's the way of being able to provide, hey, here's my scenario, and this is what I'm looking at trying to implement a solution. Now we can help others in that same type of mindset that can help. Or it's an education piece where it's like, well, have you thought about it this way? And really helping that back and forth. And that's the true point of a partner program. Rick, do you like partner programs, or do you feel like they're a waste of time? Putting you on the spot.
You know what? I think that's a 50-50 thing. Some of them.
I agree, by the way.
You know, and some people call a partner program, which is not really a partner program. It's just sign here and do what we want you to do. You know, meet this minimum and take what we give you, and then others really work with you. And you know, we've had this conversation on several times. You know, on several occasions. I am very focused on serving my clients, right? So to serve my clients, I have to find vendors that are focused on serving me. So I will not, you know, I don't care how cheap it is or how good it is. I am not going to do business with someone I think is forcing me, twisting my arm, or, you know, the other part of this we talked about a lot too, Paco, is support. If and when a problem does occur, if I can't get the help I need, I don't care what price you're giving me. I don't care how nice you are. You have no value to me, you know, because now I have no value to my customer. So again, I enjoy working with people who enjoy working with me first and foremost, but I enjoy working with people who understand and are committed to, you know, what I'm trying to do and see what I'm trying to accomplish, because then we have a lasting partnership and we have a relationship back and forth. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's workable. And I prefer that than some of the other situations I've found myself in. And we all have found ourselves in.
Oh, we've all been there. Yep. What I would say, what Rick, sorry, Paco, Rick, what you just said was perfect, and I didn't touch on it. Support is so important, right? You could go years and never need anything, and the first time you need it, and if you can't get a hold of somebody, that kills the entire relationship.
Right.
So I take that very seriously. I take people, what their success is, because I always ask them, what do you determine as success? That's my first thing, right? And most of them say, oh, I want to make revenue, I want percentages. Totally get that, right? But let's take that and put that to the side. What is successful for you? Like, what did you determine? And when I do that with MSPs, they get really excited. They're like, wait, you actually won't care? I'm saying, tell me absolutely not. This solution might not work for you, like the email part or the social media part, or this really will work for you because you need this. And I've had a lot of great conversations since working here. And a lot of people are like, oh, we have email security, but we don't have this, or we really need email security. Why don't we have it yet? So when it comes to that, getting out in the world, making great relationships, great people that think the same way, and support. And if you put all that together, then you have a successful relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree much more than what obviously we've all talked about today. Jason, rounding out the show here, really appreciate you taking the time to come out. I think it's always great when a well-known company we can put a face or a representative toward it, especially to our audience, because we know of the company, but how do we get a hold of someone that actually cares or can make movements, right? And I think that's a really big piece of why we do Resource Thursday, is really introducing for anyone, because I know sometimes it may be a vendor you may not be interested in, but there may be a time where you can go back and you say, man, I really need to get a hold of someone in Proofpoint. And now you have a name, you have an ability of a face. And I think that's really huge in our industry, to really have a conduit of just not a phone number. You have someone that is fighting for us to be able to help out as well. But before we kind of round out the show, is there anything additional that you want to leave us with, or anything that we may not have covered yet?
Yeah, the first thing is, again, thank you guys so much for having us on. We really appreciate it, from Proofpoint, definitely from our heart to you guys. But the thing I definitely want to leave on the table is people-centric security, right? We focused on people-centric security. And my whole business is service providers. So I care about you. I get up thinking about you. I go to bed thinking about you. I have dreams, not nightmares, because I love my business, right? But we're here to help. We care about you. Your success is our success. And the time is now to partner with Proofpoint.
Very cool. Rick, any lasting words before we sign off this great episode?
Hey, well, first I want to say thanks again, Jason. I'm going to echo. I won't repeat. I'll just echo what Paco said. I'll ditto what Paco said. It is great, and it was great to have you on the show. I look forward to taking a look at what you guys have to offer. And I look forward to seeing you in September as well.
Absolutely.
I have to give my closing spiel remark in regards to TechCon Unplugged. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to kind of expand this out. I'm going to make this TechCon Unplugged and MSP Unplugged, because both are what we feel are important to help our community grow. So I am always putting a call out to everyone. Paco and I, along with some other people in the background now, are working hard to make the show as best as possible, and to make TechCon Unplugged, that show, as best as possible, and this show, MSP Unplugged, as best as possible. So I'm going to ask again, anyone who has any questions, concerns, suggestions, anything that can help us make this better, make it a better experience for you, please reach out to us. Rick at MSP Unplugged, or info at MSP Unplugged. And we, like I said, we read everything, take it all into account, and try to implement as much as we can. So with that, I'm going to say again, thanks, Jason. And let Paco sign us off.
Yeah, we got a great crew in the background. We got a good content committee that's brewing up some great stuff for us as we go into September, and hopefully we don't disappoint. We're going to have a great show nonetheless here in September. But thank you again for tuning in. If you'd like to see more of this content, if this is your first time, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged, or on Facebook, facebook.com/MSP Unplugged. Subscribe, like, hit that notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. But you can also take us on the go with your favorite podcatcher app. We are also on Amazon Music, Spotify, and of course, Apple Podcasts. We want to thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.